All right, let me check in with the first part of The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, which I read for like, holy cow, 40 minutes there of old Algernon, which it very much starts off like kind of a travelogue. Like, oh, we're just going to get kind of nature travelogue here. There, he and his friend, the Swede, are traveling are in their Canadian canoe, which I assume means probably a native canoe, are moving are going down the Danube and through various areas which I cannot immediately recall to mind. But they've been warned that the area they're going to splits off into a whole bunch, and it's like you shouldn't go down there. You know, you get the classic thing of a horror thing is like you shouldn't go down there. You'll get washed up. You'll get stranded and you'll starve to death. The Hungarian thing says, and like it's too rough, and they're like, oh no, nah, we're super confident. We're fine. We more water the better. They're really confident of their stuff, and they go down. Um, and they get into this area where it's like everything's kind of broken up. There's all these little islands, and they try and get and purchase somewhere, but they get washed onto a shore and then washed off again. And finally, they do actually make it onto a little triangular island with the apex at the top, and it's being buffeted thing. Um, Now, at the start of this, we open with the scene of the willows. Basically, this area is just covered in kind of willow bushes, not trees, willow bushes, and it's like a great sea that like the wind rushing across it is like it's like waves, and the all that of the thing. So we get that kind of setting of it's dense. It feels very much like Canadian wilderness, not surprisingly. Algernon Blackwood apparently was worked as a dairy farmer in Canada, probably in Ontario, I would suspect, because it seems like he was over on that coast. But it sounds very northwest coast to me, from my experience. Um, and they get onto this island and make their camp, and it's just blowing like crazy. And they he goes off to explore, and he's kind of taken by there's definitely kind of that awe of like this is overwhelming nature, and it's like how insignificant he is. And he also gets this kind of sense of dread, like that they're trespassers here and that they're not wanted. And this indeed throughout this section, this long section at the beginning, which is just all kind of like setting and mood, you really get that sense that like we're not wanted. And I mean that to me, I've had that of walking into the woods and being there utterly alone, like probably for as far as you can see, like I am functionally there's nobody about, and feeling the immensity of nature kind of crushing down on you. I remember just sort of standing there and just screaming out, just to kind of try and kind of my little ego self, but just having that giant sense of how small and insignificant and alien you are in this land. Um, yeah, um, and they see a dead body in the water, but oh no, it's an otter. It's an otter. And then they see a guy in a boat, and he's shouting at them, and he's making signs at them as he goes past in this little boat, and he's gesticulating at them, and he's like, oh, it's one of these superstitious locals who believe only spirits uh, uh, and demons kind of haunt these islands, and he's probably afraid of us and making warding signs and stuff like that. So we're getting all this build, um, but it's like through the night it's pounding, and they keep on building the fire. And the Swede is a guy who he likes to be with because he's very unimaginative. He's not a guy who's going to get spooked, but he's getting spooked even, and you can tell he can tell that in his speech, or at least the narrator feels like he can sense a change in the Swedes in demeanor. Maybe he is or not. And finally, they go into the tent together and kind of bundle down for the night. And yeah, so that's the first section of The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. Good, good atmospheric writing. definitely there's a mention of Roman ruins again. There's a mention of kind of nameless, unimaginable kind of alien forces, like the Wlls are like some kind of some kind of like swarming alien creatures who are like sucking up the water. Very kind of so very much getting the sense of the influence that Blackwood had on people like H.P. Lovecraft and oh, what's his name? Damn it, I can't remember his name. The other guy. I'll have to look up his name of the books that I've read of him. But the kind of the Roman pagan kind of ancient history of these lands, and that also being a thing, but also just kind of the awe of nature being really used well. That kind of sense, which is actual, but obviously going to get hooked into something powerful for Algernon Blackwood. So yeah, that's the first section of the Wlls.